Chapter 9. A Small Test. In the dense forest, Roger moved forward while carrying his sword. This island is quite small if we look at all the archipelago, but still it was as big as the camp. Except for the beginning, Roger didn't encounter any of the recruits after going into the forest. Roger tried to find the monitoring devices, but he didn't find any video den mushy. Maybe they used other equipment. This archipelago could be man-made. I think this place is specially made for this examination. Roger walked through the forest and found artificial traces. It seems that this forest was moved here. So this means that the creature in this island was specially selected for the examination. Roger arrived at a silent place. Dead silence. Suddenly a pair of eyes appeared behind Roger. This is a creature got 2 huge fangs. It was a giant wild boar. Whiz. The next moment the wild boar that was staring with blood-red eyes at Roger suddenly rushed in his direction. It seemed like Roger would be pierced. But the next moment Roger leaped and kicked the boar's head. It was like Roger grew a pair of eyes behind his back. Bang! The original powerful red boar under the pressure of Roger's kick suddenly collapsed and couldn't resist the huge power behind the kick. Roger was shocked and stepped back a little. This wild boar did not think that the thin and frail creature in front of him had so much power. While looking between his leg and the boar in shock, Roger's mouth slightly smiled. My first prey come to me by itself. My luck is not bad, and I even used my legs while I practice using my hand essentially. The boar roared. The giant wild boar wasn't dead after Roger's kick, but it still was shocked. It didn't have any idea for retreat. It shook its head and then once again rushed at Roger. This time Roger also moved toward the boar while holding his Honu no Suki hilt, and suddenly he drew it. This is the most basic sword draw that Roger practiced countless times. The sword was a red line flashed suddenly. The next moment the Honu no Suki was back in the scabbard and in front of Roger. The wild boar stood still. Silence. A bloody line appeared between the boar's eyebrows and blood splashed out. The boar was cut in 2 and each half fell to different sides. In its eyes, you could see its panic. Even while dying it couldn't understand how. Worthy of being one of the 21 Owazamono swords. While looking at the boar that was halved by his sword, he was surprised a little. He looked at the Honu no Suki and smiled. This is the first time he used it in cutting a living creature. He didn't think he could split it with just one swing of his sword. He didn't even expect that he has so much power. Monkey D. Roger killed level 3 monster, the giant wild boar. The monster on the island was classified by 5 levels. The strongest being level 5, and a monster of the 5th level would be stronger than the elite recruits, maybe even stronger than the vice admirals. Each level has a different score. The highest level giving 5 points. While looking at the screen, Zed could see the whole process of Roger cutting the boar with a single sword strike. His power is good. Maybe better than most of the camp recruits. It seems this month he really becomes a lot stronger. And another thing. Isn't that sword one of the Owazamono swords, Garp? Zed looked at Garp by his side. Even if those weren't the best, but they were extremely good and rare, so having this kind of sword wasn't that easy. Garp understood his meaning. Ha ha ha, Roger, that kid prefer using swords, so. Garp trained Roger for a month, so seeing him killing a level 3 monster by slitting it with a single strike made him feel satisfied. Zed shook his head and said, his swordplay is too rough. He will only use arm strength without techniques. Relying on Honu no Suki won't be useful against stronger monsters, as it's difficult to break the defenses of such monsters. So I am afraid he will encounter a bitter fight. Although Roger's performance was good, Zed was used to talented people and even taught the 3 current admirals himself. So his evaluation was accurate. As they finished talking, his face changed. At the same time, Garp's face also changed. Not good. Roar. Across the screen, they could hear a shocking roar. They saw on the screen that just as Roger killed the giant wild boar, there seemed a giant shadow double the size of boar appeared before him. This shadow was big. It was one of a few monsters this big in the island. A brownback ape. Zed and Garp weren't concerned before because it was a level 3 monster, but the ape was a level 5 monster, so they noticed faster than anyone. If it was Garp or Zed, they could win with one finger, but for the recruit of the ordinary camp, it is the most difficult to deal with one alone. A level 1 monster. Even if one of the elite recruits were to encounter a normal, he wouldn't necessarily win, not to mention the toughest brownback ape. Zed and Garp were in a brief silence. With his strength, a level 4 monster is his limit, and fighting a level 5 and a brown back ape at that would be. Zed looked at the screen and stopped talking, but his meaning is evident. As for sending rescue or not, Roger was after all Garp's nephew, so Garp taking the decision will be better. At this time Garp watching the screen without a word and was really tense. The ape is extremely flexible and moves really fast, so escape is probably impossible. If he encountered any other level 5 monster he could escape with the result of his month of training without any injuries. But this is the ugliest creature in the entire island. Why is his luck so bad? Garp, looking at the screen with the brownback ape in it, gritted his teeth and decided to wait a minute. If he rushed from here to Roger's location he would probably reach there instantaneously. If Roger couldn't do a thing, Garp will rush there with his fastest speed. End of Chapter 9. To be continued. Chapter 10. The Sword of Flames.